Hey everyone, this is Karen with Naturally with Karen. I'm back again, and I've got a live stream for you today that's going to work out really well for a lot of women and a lot of people that are partnered in seeking to create new life. Not just bring a baby, but bring a new life, not from our stomach, but from our womb. So let's get into it. I have been coaching. I am with naturallywithkaren.com. That's where you can get a hold of me. If you're watching this and you rewind it and go, wait a minute, where can I get a hold of her? You should see the links on the right-hand side after I post it and put my thumbnail up because this is live. I don't have anything to hide. I'm a real person. I'm a real person who's gone through real stress and real joys and real love. I'm also a mother. And I'm a mother who was told many years ago by a fertility specialist in Los Gatos, California, by the name of Dr. Jose Bolaños. I hired him because my partner and I had decided and planned for a child in 1993. And 6 months later, we were not getting pregnant. And I started to look around and think to myself, with all of the people, talking about my biological clock was ticking, and here I was in my early 30s, and I'd waited and put myself through college and got a good paying job as a senior family law paralegal. And they were like, well, maybe you just waited too long. And I was like, oh my God, I was beside myself. I was really, really shook up. And every time I would see a woman walk by with a baby stroller or a baby in her arms, I thought, oh my God, that could have been me, except that I totally messed up. And I should have, considered getting pregnant earlier. And truth be told, I did want to. All I wanted to be was a wife and a mother in terms of a being. But, things change in life, and the changes bring new experiences for us. So I had never heard of endometriosis when I went to go see Dr. Jose Bolaños. Part of the reason is because I don't do an excessive amount. I don't do much doctoring. Aside from, I did go once a year because even though I was raised to not do a lot of Western allopathic medicine, meaning don't do all the medications and the drugs and try to do it as naturally as possible. I still thought, well, maybe my grandma was kind of behind the times and I should probably still go get, myself a pelvic exam and all that. And I did. Now I would do things very differently with what I know today, but I've got 35 years into coaching hundreds and hundreds of women and men and people that come and do coaching on behalf of their children, ODD, ADHD, et cetera, et cetera. I have a lot of experiences, under my medicine belt here. So the bulk of the reasons that people who have, all of their mechanics, they got all their body parts, they've got all the gynecology, but it's just not happening. They start to get funneled after a certain amount of time into, why don't you go for IVF, especially if it looks like you have plenty of money to afford that. Put my cursor to the side. And IVF averages is about $12,000 in the United States. And a good chunk of the time, a woman would have known, likely from the time she was a girl and had the onset of her menses, or what I like to call your moon cycle. So I can speak in very traditional language, and I can also speak in much more aesthetic contemporary language. So it's your moon cycle or it's your period and your menses. Either way, they mean the same thing. So she would know because she would start having like a little pinch when she ovulated. She would start having a little bit more pain, a little bit more of what we call PMS. PMS has been around for a very long time. It was around when I was a teenager. And so, bless up, good to see you. Media Healthy Cooking. Okay, good to see you. So a woman would know because she would have some of these signs and symptoms from the time she was very young, except that most people weren't raised the way that I was. Some of you might have, but very few in more recent years were trained. They were trained more so, you go to the doctor and you get checked. And that's the responsible, respected way to do things. But really, if we're paying attention to how our own body is communicating, we will know that something isn't right. We know it from anxiety and depression, like you hear me talk about a lot in my videos. We know it because now we're procrastinating or we're impulsive. We have panic attacks. We know it from the color of our moon blood or our period blood on our pads, on tampons, in a menstrual cup, in all these various different ways. Your body is communicating with you. So one of the ways that really sends most people into infertility is PCOS or PCOD, and they're similar. They stand for polycystic ovarian syndrome and polycystic ovarian disease. And back in the 1970s, it was called, a woman would have a phantom cyst, is what they actually called it, because I was around then. I'm that old. I'm going to be 58 here in July, and I'm also that young. And I'm that young because I'm a coach and I do what I believe in. And still, stressors, come up with our partners, our children, addictions, all kinds of things. We don't get to control the world or control other people. So we do the best that we can. Now, polycystic ovarian syndrome or disease is where you start to get these cysts that start to erupt. And most gynecologists will tell you that it's just absolutely natural and it's a part of the luteal phase, and this is just what your body does. But in actuality, the reason why so many people are making so many cysts, nodules, and tumors for that matter, is because their bodies aren't equipped with the right trace elements and minerals because of some of the food drugs or food chemicals, the food products and drinks that are being sold. And for lots of reasons that I get into on an individual session that I can't do, 3 or 4 hours here. In addition to ovarian cysts, a lot of folks that have polycystic ovarian syndrome or disease will start to get a lot of hirsutism, which means that they're starting to make a lot of excess hair on the sides. And if you've got really light hair like I do, that when I would be in the car and it would be a sunny day, I would notice that I actually didn't have a lot of tufts of hair there. And I just thought, well, that's just the way I am. But today, more people are realizing that they're just a lot more hairy on the face, right? A lot more waxing like we do at the shop, or I do now in my late 50s. So ovarian cysts and the hirsutism, women running kind of cold. And if you are struggling with a gynecological, a female issue, or infertility, a lot of times you're going to be asked to take your basal body temperature. And what do all those things have in common? Your thyroid, right? And what does that have as a primary is all of your glands, including your pituitary gland that has to make TSH, right? So I wrote a book called Detox and Heal Your Thyroid. It's on Amazon. It's on my website at naturallywithkaren.com. And okay, great. I can't see it exactly all that great, but if I don't answer it right this moment, I surely will. I tend to kind of get really off track if I read that, but please write your questions. They're important to me, and I'm definitely going to answer them. Women are making these cysts, and I can see exactly why you're making these cysts when I can get you to do a hair testing, a hair tissue testing. Now, it's an 8-page report that shows me your metabolic type. It shows me if your thyroid is running too slow or too fast, if your adrenal glands are tired. It shows me what diseases are coming up on your path, if any, right? And it shows me all of your nutritional. Now, in order to be able to have a baby, to be able to get pregnant, ultimately, I want to get you as optimized as possible before you even conceive baby. So if I've got a hair test and we can do some coaching one-on-one through the screen, I'm going to be able to say, let's go over your diet. Let's go over some of your questions. Let's get you started. While it takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get your hair test back on an email and a nice hard copy. Your copper, your zinc, your iron, any toxic metals that you don't want to pass on to baby that I learned the hard way, I want to help you. You, I'm sure, would rather have the healthiest baby possible, right? Nobody says, I don't really care about the health of my baby. We usually want to have, the ability to give them, the ability to be intelligent and, to have the best life possible. Every mom I know, if you're watching this video, you certainly have an interest in making sure that you have the best life possible and that your baby has the best life possible. Now, in addition to ovarian cysts, PCOS, and PCOD, the other reason, because there's a lot of them, but I'm going to only go into 2 or 3 today, is endometriosis. Now, endometriosis used to be called retrograde menses. If anybody knows about astrology, let me know over here to the right. Or if you're watching this later after it's a live stream, just say, yes, I absolutely do, because then you'll say, oh, that's right. Mercury goes into retrograde, which means what? It starts to go backwards. So with the Mercury retrograde, we tend to say, well, it's kind of like the 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. When you've got endometriosis, because of your thyroid being too slow usually, what's happening is your menstrual blood is starting to go the other way, and it starts to go and coat your ovaries until, if it goes too long, they become chocolate cysted ovaries. Not in a positive way, in a really negative way. And they could become prone to bacteria, and they could become prone to what else if you leave them that way too long and you don't attend to things in the way that I can show you individually. They'll become, possibly, not always, ovarian cancer, which I was diagnosed with in 2008. I learned a lot of what I'm sharing with you through trial and error with myself and hundreds of clients. And so I'm coming on here as a real woman, not bleached teeth, not dyed hair. I don't dye my hair at all. I'm just cut my long dreadlocks off. If you see my website. The third and the last one that I'm going to cover is uterine fibroids, because if you start getting these gooey masses that are like cysts, they're non-cancerous tumors technically, right? In your uterus, you're not really going to have space for baby, and your body's going to perhaps reject a pregnancy. So a lot of times, if you go to your doctor, they're going to say, well, you do have several cysts on your ovaries. And we know that because we put the jelly and the roller ball and did the ultrasound with you on the table. And we can see in the image here that you have, a lot of cysts. And it's really interesting, but the majority of the women that I work with have a lot of cysts on their right ovary as opposed to their left. So in the mind-body sense, I guess I'm looking at the males in your life, your father in your life, the job, the mind body part of this, right? So I always ask a woman, is it on both sides that you have cyst, or is it just the left or just the right? And I take a little notebook like this one, right? And I take notes while I'm in session with you so that I can be sure to keep everything down. And then I go back and I share with you later what I've learned about you and what I appreciate. Now, another issue for infertility, as well as the cysts and the endometriosis, is anemia. Now, you may have gone to your doctor and had blood testing through the crook of your arm, and the doctor might have said, no, you're at least at a 12, so we're not going to say that you're anemic. But some of my clients, if you watch my video on hemochromatosis, which is excessive iron in the blood, my one client that is on the interview there, Pam, she actually didn't have enough blood in her body, but all of that excessive iron was being stored in her liver, and she was starting to make tons of extra cholesterol. I'm fairly certain that if she and I hadn't started working together after she'd exhausted years of going to her doctor and giving blood and going to naturopathic doctors and everything else, I'm fairly certain that she probably wouldn't have made it 5 to 10 more years, because she was losing her copper. And so that's something I go over with you too. So you could be totally anemic and your test might show that you're not. You've got to have your iron, your zinc, and your copper levels balanced. And when you order the hair tissue testing, it's called an HTMA profile 2. And when I'm all done, I'll put the link over here. You order it through the mail, except for the state of New York. New York doesn't allow a lot of mail business that way. But what we need to do is I need to gather information so I can help you, because you're an individual. You're not just a cookie cutter person, right? And ideally, we would do the hair testing. That's $125 plus $750 for shipping to ship 3 times. I got to ship you the kit. I got to ship it to the lab, and then I need to ship you back the nice big hard copy that you get with all of your information. I need to show you how to detox so that your body can responsibly handle letting go of the cysts and the fibroids if we possibly can. Now, most of the time we can, but every once in a while it's lasted too long and we're not able to do that. But most of the time we can, and most of the time we can make substantial progress enough that as you age, a long time from now, your hormone levels will change and be healthy, and you'll be able to overcome that. Okay. Now, I talked about the 3 key elements, iron, copper, and zinc. Those are going to be the most important when it comes to gynecology, and certainly when it comes to fertility and making baby. My job is to work for you, and my job is to get you results. And that's why I ask a lot of my clients, and a lot of people are very shy to do it. But if you go to naturallywithkaren.com and click on testimonials, you'll see some of my testimonials there. Now, a little bit about me is in 1993, a long time ago, I was planning a pregnancy. It didn't happen in 6 months, as I started in the very beginning to tell you. I went to Dr. Jose Bolaños, who's a fertility specialist. He said I had endometriosis and, quote, "You will never have a baby." I was mortified. I was absolutely just mortified. And I took about 6 months. We didn't really have the internet like we do now, right? And I went through a lot of old books and herbs, and I ended up putting together a plan for myself with blue cohosh, and I detoxed. I used cascara sagrada. I juiced every day. I essentially got rid of my biofilms with a lot of citrus and grapefruit. And then I made myself a lot of smoothies in the afternoon with yam, because yam has a lot of progesterone. So that's just like a little tip about what I did. And I knew it was working the same way you'll know certain things are working if you're in the same situation with endometriosis like I was, because eventually, and this is going in the book that I'm planning here to write about the womb, because your blood, your period blood or your moon cycle blood, depending on which side of the fence you're on, you want it really traditional or you like it really contemporary. And I'm definitely on the contemporary side over here, but I know the traditional language. And I read a ton of medical abstracts and research for decades now. So you'll know because the blood will change colors and smell. And it'll go from a really, really dark plum to a beautiful, beautiful lighter strawberry. And you'll pass, through clots some of the time and so forth. And what you're doing is you're detoxing your own womb and getting yourself ripe, so to speak, to be able to intentionally bring forth life in the most optimized yoni, womb, uterus, whatever you want to call it, right? I just say, let's just enjoy it and be so thankful that, you didn't have to drop $12,000 and take all these medications, which could potentially transfer to your baby. Okay. So this has everything to do with your babies, and what the work that we do is non-medication. It's cleaning out the brain, the glands, the thyroid, the womb, the breast. So I want to optimize. I work for you, and I want to optimize not only your ability to get pregnant, but your ability to clear out some of these gynecological issues and your ability to bring forth the most optimized baby, the most beautiful baby, healthy baby, strong baby, intelligent baby, because we love all babies, right? All babies are beautiful. But if you've got, the ability to think about this for a moment, preconception, that's just all the better. Now, the first time I got pregnant, because I needed to detox and because it's so common and because I didn't understand one or two pieces, which I won't get into today, it's a long story, but I ended up having a miscarriage at 9 weeks, and it was because I had a blighted ovum, was the technical term, and it happens almost 50% of the time for a lot of people if baby's not developing right. I did get pregnant after that because I was just, I was just shocked and scared. And I just remember those feelings. I just wanted to cry, every time I saw someone go by with a baby, and I didn't want to be a woman who was holding a lot of envy and jealousy, but I guess I really was, because I thought they get to do it, but it's never going to happen to me. And so when I work with women now, I understand what that feels like. It feels so terrible. So once I got past the blighted ovum, I got pregnant again, right? And I had my son in August of 1995, totally healthy. But during my pregnancy, I had one scare, and it was probably because of a ultrasound technician. But I was sent, because I'm from California, 42 years born and raised, and I'm from the Bay Area. And I was sent to Stanford University to rule out dwarfism with my child. I now know that dwarfism and gigantism are absolutely 100% related to your thyroid. Okay. So it's kind of like when I had my job as a senior family law paralegal, I got really, really, really good at making sure that when people dissolved their marriage, that I had absolutely everything in their marital settlement agreement, so that they didn't have a problem 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road. They could just say, I know she took really good care of us. That's why we went to a family law specialty firm, or that's why we went to her as a paralegal, because some people did. And in my coaching, which I have built and built upon for now it's 35 years, since 1984, that's what I do. I don't want to just get you pregnant and my job is done. My job is to see that I can help you to have the best possible conception, and to have the best possible baby with the best possible chances for life. I work with a lot of people that have ODD, and I've experienced it through therapeutic foster care. And if you can avoid that by not having a brain toxic child, by doing the HTMA, the hair tissue testing, for $125 plus $750 shipping, you are going to save yourself a ton of headache. Like, that is absolutely draining and exhausting. And later in life, it's got a higher propensity for turning into drug addiction. So I'm going to ask you to really listen and think very, very carefully about investing in the hair tissue testing. The lab has also incidentally been around 35 years. It's called Trace Elements. And the really unique part about it is knowing how to read the test. So you can read the test, it's all in plain English, but there are subtleties that, after years of reading the test and lots of reading about chemistry and lots of learning about the emotional patterns in the test and lots of coaching, 35 years, lots of courses and lots of background. I'm an herbalist and lots of things. You start to pick up on many more things that might be glossed over somewhere else. Your doctor won't know how to read them most of the time. Okay. So let me just see here. I wanted to make sure that I told you about that. The other problem that I had, the only other problem, is that you may be hearing of more women that are unable to breastfeed no matter how they try. And it's because women that were born or very young developed a thyroid problem because moms weren't preparing, right? They were exposed to radiation, or they had a very slow, weak thyroid themselves, or they had a lot of heavy metals, and the toxic dump goes, 2/3 of that goes into baby through the maternal cord blood. You want to really, 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 really have that hair tissue testing. And the link, again, I'm going to put it on the right. Click order if you're in the United States, or write me and say, I'm not in the United States, where do I get one? I'll ask the company. Here comes my garbage can. Garbage guys. Ask me and I will find out where you can go, because it won't be me. I can do anybody in the United States, but let's let the garbage guy go by. But I can't do outside of the United States, and I can't do an address from the state of New York. So go visit your aunt and, somewhere else, and we can do your hair test just fine. then we're going to be able to see what's going on. If you've got higher aluminum or mercury or cadmium or any of those things, we want to make sure and take care of that before you get pregnant, essentially or ideally 6 months before. Okay. So when you're going to bring forth a life, you're going to really want to consider your food. Your food is important. Bless up, Hershey Green. You want to be able to bring mana, and the number one food sources that you have are not the food that you buy at the grocery store. It's actually light, water, and air. You can read Professor Hilton Hotema. You can read people that were way, way before the modern medical industry, the Western allopathic industry, which is great for a lot of things. But what they can offer you is ultrasounds, medication, and IVF most of the time, right? If you've got polycystic ovarian syndrome or disease, they can offer you, hormones, metformin, or blood thinners or something like that. And I'm going to say I really only want to work in coaching with people that are willing to make change, because otherwise it just isn't worth it. I'm not a here's your pill, go swallow it. It's all going to work out for you, because that never works out for you. It might work out for you temporarily, but that's why women had, 5 and 6 children, and they had children sometimes with other issues, and things really fell apart, is because they weren't aligned with what really needs to happen, which means we need to heal from the root cause. Okay. So your real sources of food are light, water, and air. So we want to get clean air, get outside in nature, walk early in the morning amongst the plants and the dew, get sunlight on the body. And in my coaching, I teach you how to use a scrubby, and especially around the thyroid, so that you can open up your earth alchemy, your clay. Your skin bag is made out of earth. Your lungs, take in air, right? Your blood and your lymph is part of the water, and so is your elimination. And your digestion and elimination are fire. Okay. I don't go outside much. Oh, right. So sometimes it's a matter of, a lot of our parents and grandparents were using a lot of sunscreen, and it was blocking sunlight from going in the body and into the eyes. Another issue of thyroid is photophobia, which means it really almost hurts to be outside in the sun without sunglasses. So not only inability to have enough breast milk, inability to get pregnant, cyst on the ovaries, dwarfism, giantism. I mean, we're starting to kind of see that if you don't get your metabolism and your thyroid together, and it's not hard. I'm going to show you how to do it through simple habits, or you can also read my book for less than $20. My dogs are acting up when I'm on here. So you're going to get the vitamin D through your gut and your skin, just like you have opiate receptor sites in your gut, right? That's why food drugs work against you. So when I go through my program with people to help them heal, the first thing I got to do is gather. Do you go outside? Do you walk? Do you sleep at night? Do you wake up a lot? What's your sex drive? How do you eat? What do you eat? Do you drink water? I got to ask a few questions, and a lot of them I have covered on my wellness forum at Naturally with Karen under consults. You just click on it. Okay. So let's see. I've got something else I wanted to bring up here. The earth is essentially magnetic. And so that's another, we are an electromagnetic earth, right? Whether you believe it's a round sphere or a flat earth or a geometric shape or whatever it is, we do know that it's electromagnetic, and so we need to have these nutritional elements to be able to live here. It's a part of what keeps, this body and your brain working well. Okay. So, I wanted to go over a couple of things. When you go to the doctors and the hospital and you've tried repeatedly to get pregnant, you've been on their medication for, ovaries, cyst on your ovaries, and thickening of your endometrium, endometriosis, maybe chocolate cyst, which are the backup blood, because remember, endometriosis is the blood's going backwards. Well, what happens when your thyroid isn't working right is your body starts to go backwards. It starts to accumulate fluid retention. So women get more of the puffiness around their eyes. They might have to wear glasses when they're young girls, because it's fluid retention that starts to push pressure on the optic nerve. Okay. And that optic nerve a lot of people will start to get bulging eyes if, together with a thyroid issue, and they get diagnosed with Graves' disease, they also have heavy metal toxicity. That's almost always the case for Graves. But if you go to the doctor's going to say it's autoimmune. Excuse me, it's autoimmune. Your own body is attacking itself, and there's nothing you can do besides take our medication and keep coming back for testing. I'm going to take a drink of my ginger beer. It's not alcohol. It's made with ginger. So if you go to the doctors and you take metformin, which is a diabetes medication, you take blood thinners, what are you really doing to yourself? If you learn the truth and you make your diet be about keeping your blood like it's supposed to be, your blood viscosity. It's a big word that also relates to the oil in your vehicle. This is my vehicle, and my vehicle is out in the driveway getting worked on right now, my 2010 Subaru. Okay? If I put super thick oil in my car is not going to run very well. If I eat lots of pizza and cheese, and I eat lots of wheat noodles, egg noodles, and I eat lots of white rice. Now, it's my dog crashing his head on the floor. He's huge. That's why you saw the screen move. If I eat gluey, starchy, congealing foods, my thyroid's not going to work like it's supposed to. My gut is going to get damaged. My ovaries are going to start to form a lot of these cysts and then nodules and then eventually maybe tumors. They told me I was crazy. Dr. Scott Nielsen, Cloquet Memorial Hospital. May this month, 2008, was diagnosed with advanced. My cancer scale was up over triple. My son had been police abused in the front yard, my beautiful 12-year-old. And I, as a mama, absolutely was in sadness and stress. And of course, it affected my living waters, my emotions. And I couldn't hold anything down until finally I was ready to collapse. I got taken in by ambulance, and I was absolutely in shock that I was diagnosed this way. And I said, thank you so much for everything that you've done for me. But I'm going to need to go home and sleep on it and think about it. I'll let you know after the weekend. I went home. I did my meditation. I trust what I hear or don't hear. I'll trust that too. And I heard very clearly, you don't have cancer. I've always been guided, whether you want to call it God, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, it does not matter to me. I know that I can trust the guidance, okay? Because I keep my temple clean. I don't put a face full of makeup on. I don't put hair dye on. I don't bleach my teeth. I don't go lay in a tanning booth. Not because I want to be perfect, because I want to be alive, because I want to minimize my potential for risk. Okay. I care less about being sexy, which is commodity language. I care more about being able to do the medicine that I love so much. In a world that sees only doctors as being allowed to do this medicine, I've worked for this medicine my whole life. Okay. When you go, like for example, in India, I just jotted down some facts before I started this live stream. It's $600 to $1,000 for an IVF. This is an average on a one-try IVF, an average, just based on a quick Google. Australia was about $5,000. The United States was at $12,513. What do you get for that money? Okay, you're going to get, I'm going to put on my reading glasses here. The first part of your expense is going to be $2,460. And that's going to be for ultrasounds, hormone testing, office visits. Then you're going to have the oocyte retrieval, which is, taking out the egg. You're going to have the lab work. All these are going to come to $2,145. You're going to have fertilization and ultrasounds, transfer, anesthesia, and medications. The medications alone are $5,000 for infertility. So you're now up to, for your first IVF, $15,069. Going to your second IVF try, which is going to be cryopreservation. So they're going to freeze and preserve the embryos. They're going to do frozen embryo transfer into you. That's another $2,799. You're going to do medications for another $950. That second IVF try is going to be $5,199 on average. If you do a mini IVF and you require less of all of these ultrasounds and medications, it's going to be $7,015. The second try is $4,475. Okay. I'm going to ask you something as a favor. 2 years ago, not quite 2 years ago, one of my clients, or one of the ladies that was helping me with my initial website, not the one I have today, her name is Angie Simonson. She said, Karen, you are so phenomenal at healing and getting to the real root cause. I'm so sorry that a lot of people just say, well, you're not a doctor, but you're really healing people. You're curing them. And I said, oh, we got to be really careful with that word, even though in the dictionary it means to relieve the symptoms. I cured my own infertility. I cured my own advanced ovarian carcinoma and asthma and sinusitis. I also had excess bilirubin, and come to find out, it had a lot to do with the toxicity in my body, the food I was eating. And you're right, I saw briefly, if you want to get rid of your problems, you need to be off wheat and dairy. Wheat and dairy will take you down. It will take down your brain. But then, because of the world that we live in today, pesticides have been sprayed on so many things. Our food, we have halogens in our water, which I talk about in my book, Detox and Heal Your Thyroid. You can click on Naturally with Karen and click on the shop, and you can buy the book. It comes to your email in less than a minute, and you can start reading it. I'm revising a second edition of it right now, so whoever buys it, you let me know. I give you a second edition free. All you got to do is email me and say, hey, I bought your book, and I'll look it up. Yep, you read my book, or he bought my book, or she bought my book, and I'll send you the free second copy when it comes out. Or you can do coaching with me for 15, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Typically, the 45-minute session is what I need so that I can gather, ask you some questions. I'll review your wellness form. I'll put the link on there when we're all done, so you can click on that, fill it out. I'll get back to you and say, I've got it. When do you want to get started? Okay. Or I want to get started after my results come back from my hair tissue testing. Hair tissue testing is just taking a little bit of hair up here on the sides and in the back. It's about a teaspoon total. If you don't have hair on your head, some of my clients don't. If you're a male, it could be some chest hair, as long as it's not dyed or permed or straightened or any of that. You don't want to have chemicals on the hair. We want to be able to, get the data from the hair. It could also be pubic hair. And if you don't have any of those as an option, it can be your fingernail clippings and your toenail clippings. And I'll give you a little scale in the kit, and you can put the clippings on there, and then you can put it in a collection envelope and seal it, write your name, and mail it back to me in the envelope that already has postage on it. And I'm going to get it to the lab immediately within about 2 to 3 weeks max, usually 2 weeks. I have your results on email because I pay for email and a hard copy, and we'll see exactly right on there. Okay. What else do I want to say? So the hair along the sides of the face, losing the eyebrow hair, like that's the only makeup I wear, is I started losing eyebrow hair and I didn't realize it was my thyroid for all those years. And who really cares about a thyroid? Like, I don't want to sit down and read a thyroid book. But since your thyroid in your neck has to supply energy to every single cell in your body, and it has everything to do with your hormones, you need to have your thyroid functioning well because it's so important. So I really feel upset when I see so many people, 9 out of 10 people that I see online selling you things and products and pills and all these different things. And I know darn good and well that 7 times out of 10, they're not going to help you to get to making baby. And especially not to get help you making healthy baby, right? So John Lundy, John Lundy of the Duluth News Tribune wrote an article in 2017 about PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. So many women have it that now when women come to my professional space, I'm even starting to, not only do they tell me they've got it by 10th grade girls, but they're also starting to get on the back of the neck above what we call a buffalo hump. So the polycystic ovarian and the buffalo hump tells me what? You've got a thyroid problem. They start gaining weight, and we call it undeserved weight, meaning you didn't really do anything. Like you weren't sitting there and just pigging down all the time. You weren't, I shouldn't even cut the pigs down. You weren't eating food all the time. So we call it undeserved weight gain. Your body temperature was low. So they were telling you, take your body temperature, your BBT, your basal body temperature. You don't know how to fix that, right? Because no one's telling you the truth. In fact, in the second revision of my book, I'm going to lay out something that I haven't seen anywhere else. And I'm so tired of people with perfectly white lumineers and bleached teeth and dyed hair and false fingernails telling you to do things when I know that they're not true. I'm a real person. I've done real medicine. These hands have worked with real people in Minnesota since I got here from California, since February 1st of 2003, and before that in California. I had to have a job. I had a job as a paralegal, and I quit that job in various capacities. But if you ever want to support me, you can get a hold of your newspapers, your editors. You can set up speaking engagements. I do have to be paid to come to them. I can't work for free. And I would love to write articles for newspapers if they would like that. But I wasn't even given the chance by John Lundy at Duluth News Tribune. I emailed him. I said, I have really great insights about polycystic ovarian syndrome, about PCOS. It's going to help a lot of women, especially because we don't need more of our people taking more drugs like metformin, and they're handing that stuff out like candy. Let's heal them for real and not just treat them. We're treating and treating and treating and treating our people with drug after drug after drug after drug, only to find out that they're experimental and they're hurting people. Okay? So each person is unique. The one thing every one of us has in common is if we got the hair test done, you can see right on there. Sometimes I'll just email you back and say, you don't even need to coach with me. All you need to do is this one thing and read through your hair test and you're good. I know we don't all have all the money in the world. I know that we'd all like to have the truth. I'm giving you as much as I can here, but it does require me to work individually with a person and find out, where do they live? What are they exposed to? What kind of medications are they on? What have they experienced already? What have the doctors told them? Do they have hair? Do they have glaring thyroid? So I'm going to give you as much as I can for free because it would have saved a lot of pain in my life. Later, I found out that I had toxins in my mouth that transferred to my own son. As much as I prepared myself pre-conception because of learning about the endometriosis that I didn't even know I had, and overcoming infertility when I was told by an infertility specialist, a really foo-foo doctor that at the time I coughed up $150 to go in there and just hear that and have a quick pelvic exam, right? So yes, I charge for my time. Yes, if I know you're in a tough situation, I will go above and beyond for you. Yes, I will trade you if you don't have money. I am not a doctor. I'm a shaman. I'm a medicine person. I will help you. I can't help the entire world for free, but that's my dream. My dream is to be part of a council of elders once I myself am a little bit older and have myself a little more situated and people understanding, right, what it is that we need to do instead of just reaching for the next pill or the next surgery or the next kill it out of you. Just like my other videos, we don't always have to use battle axe language. Don't kill it, conquer it, destroy it, annihilate it. It's all over on our billboards. Okay. I'm going to look to see your questions here. How am I? I'm doing really, Nadia, if you're still here. I'm doing really good. I came through an incredibly tough year until around the end of March. And I cut off my dreadlocks. I wasn't sleeping. I was helping a close family member through heroin addiction, and it just about took me out. Rahana 17, I would like to ask you, I have irregular periods. Okay, thank you. So maybe I answered the question. If your cycle is irregular, you're not lining up with the moon. I like to call them moon cycles. I'll help you to do that. That's something we can do, but especially the hair testing. Hershey Green, sup? I don't go outside much. I had low vitamin D. I don't eat or drink a lot of dairy. Hershey Green, I'm going to recommend that you really just try to stop dairy altogether. And sometimes we don't have the ability to do that, but I'm going to be bringing a lot more live streams. I had to kind of put things on hold for a year because it was so crazy. I'm rebuilding me. Some of my videos you're going to see in the last 6 months, I look really tired and just, stressed. It was extremely stressful. I'm not the only one going through stress. I mean, at that time, thank gosh I have a calm environment now. Thank gosh my family member is alive and everything's going well. But the way the world is today, the amount of brain toxicity and the amount of infertility issues and gynecological issues, this is just a fact. So I'm not here to put a bunch of foundation on and, act like nothing in my life is wrong, because I don't have a perfect life and neither do you. None of us do. Together, we will make that better. That's why I always say, together we rise. Okay? So thank you for joining me. It's a pleasure, and you can look forward to a lot more. I need your help because I have to sit here in my house and do live streams instead of be out there and show you guys really cool stuff, like take you on shopping trips and take you outside in nature and teach you real shaman, authentic, real shaman ways outside. I can't do that unless I have 1,000 subscribers. It's a new rule from YouTube. So if you want to help me, get a hold of John Lundy, JOHNLUNDY, Duluth News Tribune, and ask him, say, I think you need to interview Shaman or Naturally with Karen about PCOS and infertility. And also talk to your local news people. Get me an interview. I'll write it out. We'll expose the truth for what it is. I'll help you through coaching, through your hair tissue testing, whatever it is. I'm here for you. All right. And you have a beautiful day. So long.